Hi. Welcome to the San Juan School District Board of Education meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, and it's 3:01 p.m. We have in attendance today board members Lucille Cody, Colleen Benali via Zoom, Nan Barton, and Don Mose, Superintendent Fitzgerald, Business Administrator Jacob Swanson, and other San Juan School District staff. Thank you for joining us. Our first item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Lucille.
I'll second.
Thank you, Don. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. All right. The first item on our agenda is the spotlight report.
All right. I really wanted to update the board on the training that is required and mandated. So the district does a lot of training that is not necessarily what we'd call mandatory training or required by code, rule, or law. But there are quite a few things that we do have to train on. So I just wanted to give you an overview because it continues to be extensive, and not just for our teachers, but for all of our employees, the training. So I just want to hit on a few of those. We use a program called Vector Solutions, and it allows us to have online training that our employees can do just virtually when they have time. So they can get on, and the training's assigned to them through that. So a lot of our training goes through Vector Solutions. We also have the opportunity with that to create our own video trainings to add in there for things that need to be covered that maybe Vector Solutions doesn't offer in Utah. So I have a list here, and I'm just going to just rapidly kind of give you an overview of some of those things that we do on Vector Solutions. And if you added all of these up, it's about 9 hours of online training for our staff. So grammar training, bloodborne pathogen exposure prevention, bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, child abuse prevention, human trafficking, code of conduct, cybersecurity, employee ethics, FERPA, fire extinguishers, seizures, Title IX, and suicide prevention. So that's really just in that online platform. And then on top of that, there's additional training. So this year, we are now required to have, through the Utah State Board of Education, foundational behavior training. And depending on your role, that could be a couple of modules or courses, or it could be quite extensive, taking almost a full day of training. Then we also now have required USPE data privacy training that's through, they've set up a Canvas course, and that includes has to be done every year or upon hire. And that's just not just your teachers, but anyone that would come in contact with any private student information. So that means interacting with a student, or like our business office here at the district office, they'd also have to do that training to ensure they're in compliance with data privacy. On top of that, just a few other ones are CPR and first aid, health and human sexuality training, botfin prevention life skills, CTE training, rescue medication training, over the counter, of course, our evaluation system for whatever role you're in. Assessment ethics has to be done every year for those who are doing any type of student assessments. And then our K-3 teachers also have to become letter certified. So my point in telling you all of this, to make you aware, is that we are trying to align our systems to make it easier for teachers and our other staff to be able to access that training when they have time. So it isn't, I'm just sitting down for a whole day and doing this, or I have to sit in a faculty meeting and have all of this training, which takes the burden also off of administrators. But I think this is a good preview as we go into next month, where we're looking at the school calendar. In the proposals we'll bring to you, there will be some calendars that have teacher work days. Mm-hmm. Often that's considering lesson planning and doing grades, but they also need time to do all of this training. They can't teach all day and then do this training. Same with our paras, and we've tried to work with them. I think the other thing to keep in mind is currently the state legislature has given 4 additional professional days for our teachers and some of our other certified staff, so they could use that time. But if that ever goes away, that's something the board will need to consider, is how do we help our employees that they aren't on Sunday doing online training. So anyway, that's kind of wanted to give you that overview and consideration of what's coming your way next month. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Our board members, are we good?
There is some training that
Yeah.
we have. It's not the same.
We'll talk about 2 things for board members today that are required trainings for you. We try to do all of the board member mandated training during board meeting as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I've had training at USU, will that suffice, or do?
So if it's very specific for board member training, it's very specific to school boards. And like I said, most of those will happen in board meeting. Today, President Barton will talk a little bit about a new one that you'll have to do on your own, but it's just a video that you watch. But she'll speak to that. But everything else we actually do in open board meetings, so you don't have a whole bunch of extra that you have to do. And you can speak to that one. I think you're the first.
I am, I'm the
so
next item.
Goes right into it perfectly.
So in case, just checking if there's any other questions related to that before we move on. Okay, the next item is, yes, it's me, and I'm new to this as well, this hotline training requirement. Yeah, if you look at this, there's a new rule with the state, is that correct, Christy? That
is correct.
It's from the U.S. Board of Education, or was it the legislature? I thought it was the Board of
Both.
Education, yeah. That establishes a process where individuals can bring alleged violations of statute or board rule to the State Board of Education and LEAs, which is what we are. We're a school district. We play an important part in getting that to them. And rather than have a post to their hotline, we are creating our own hotline. Is that correct?
So currently, we are going to be posting, unless we're guided differently, posting it using the state's hotline.
Okay.
And so that will be posted on each of our websites. So with the-
Currently, we're using the state's.
Yes, and Laura will be sharing a policy, because we're also mandated to add it to our board policy. But the requirement for the training is on here.
And even without having our own specific hotline for our LEA, we're using the state's, because eventually it goes to the state anyway. And the board needs to be trained on that. So there is a link. It says provided by USB, it's under 1. If you click on that, it doesn't take you directly to the training, but go ahead and click on it. It'll take you to the, can you do that, Jared? Yeah, under 1, the link under 1. And then if you go to trainings, and then scroll down, it would be underneath LEA training, required hotline training. So that is, every board member will need to complete that and then notify me, and I will notify Superintendent Fitzgerald.
Yep, so we'll keep that on file, that you've had the training through our Human Resource Director and the Human Resource Department, so.
Are there any questions regarding that? No. I wanted to walk through that because when I went to do it, I was like, wait, it doesn't send you directly to it. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew how to find that.
And I can send you the direct link
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, this is all new, so I'm still figuring it out too, but hopefully this training will answer some of our questions regarding our role in responding to that hotline and all those kinds of things.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When are we required to complete this training?
They didn't really give a timeline in the rule, so, I mean, I think it could be any time within this school year. Obviously, if you want to understand the purpose of the hotline, how the board is involved with hotline responses and communication, that would all be part of the training as well.
Okay, so the sooner the better if we could. That way we're all kind of on the same page. But then,
That would be great. I mean, it's about 30 minutes, the training is, just a YouTube video. And, you know, with our policy we're about to go over, you're going to learn quite a bit about it. So you're going to get a pretty good preview when we look at the policy next. But, I mean, it's basically just saying the purpose, why it was set up, and then what the board's role is in that. But our policy says something similar.
Does
Thank you.
anyone else have questions related to that? No. Okay. Thank you, Colleen. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the policy relating the hotline. Thank you, Laura. Hopefully you will answer our questions because we're all over here going, wait, what?
All right, so we, as Superintendent just mentioned, we're required to have a policy to respond to or outline how we respond to hotline complaints, whether it's through an internal district hotline, or if we get a referral from the internal audit department is where the USBE hotline things go. So we have to have a policy to discuss how we are going to do that. So this gives our citizens and stakeholders avenue to report, gross misuse of public resources, whether that's personnel or funds, violation of laws or unethical behavior, a way for them to file the complaint. So it would be a hotline we have in the policy if they have questions, how they can reach out for that. And then it also has our steps and how we would process a complaint and work through those issues. And then at the end of the policy, we also have our whistleblower protection to make sure employees are protected if they do file a complaint. And like I mentioned, we would respond to them whether we receive them at the district level or if we get one that's referred to us from the internal audit department as well.
So just clarity on the process. So what happens if a complaint is filed is that there will be an email sent from the hotline, and it will come to our human resource director, the superintendent, and the board president. And then we move into an investigation, and then the duty of the board president is at the end of the investigation to enter that into an
respond.
online reporting form that just
Yeah, so the
basically-
state has already, and you'll learn that, I'm sure, in your training, a process already in place, so we would follow that. But this just puts our steps into how we would investigate that at the district level before it was turned back over for the response to the internal audit department.
And there's 3 options on the way the complainant can identify themselves. They can name themselves, or they can
Anonymous.
or they can be anonymous. What, I can't remember. It seemed, where am I coming up with 3? I thought there was.
And we did put in here, just to address your anonymous, that it could make it difficult for us
Yes.
to
Yeah.
investigate that, because we do need to make sure, specifically with employees, that they are given due process as well. So we would investigate as much as we could following those policies and practices.
Yeah, and obviously it addresses whether it's related to policy or other types of issues, so, thank you. Did anybody else have questions or concerns related to? Did you have more that you wanted to explain? Sorry.
I think our
That's a
request on
pretty-
this one is we're required to have
needs
this
to-
policy. So if you don't have any questions or concerns about the policy, we'd recommend you take action on this policy today in this board meeting.
Question. Laura, does this policy that we created for this hotline, does it coincide with the state requirements or the USBE requirements?
So everything in the processing of the hotline complaints is directly out of the rule on what we're required to do once we get that. Of course, the board could add any additional steps in here if they want to, but as Superintendent mentioned, where the school year has already started, there is the potential to receive more hotline or receive hotline complaints. So we would like a policy in place so we can respond to those correctly.
Gotcha. And it will make it easier for us to follow up, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it is important that we all do the training, because oftentimes these types of complaints can be regarding sensitive information, and it's super important that we keep confidentiality in the way that we handle these. So.
Are we moving
Go ahead
on?
to the
Okay.
next one. Thank
I
you.
have my name on here, but it's on. I just think it's quiet because we've turned down the volume. You hear me better? There we go.
Thank you.
So I have my name listed here, but I'm going to rely really heavily on the superintendent for this policy. As you can tell, it's very lengthy. So this policy outlines a framework for the schools in the district to recognize and regulate student organizations. It gives us some definitions, the application processes we would like to put in place, rules, and limitations for curricular and non-curricular clubs. This is the adoption of the USBA model policy, with the exception that we added 66 to 1.12 to address fundraising, donations, and fees. Additionally, I'd like to point out that under .9, the very bottom of it, the end of that sentence got cut off. But this is an adoption of the USBA model policy with those exceptions, with correcting that sentence that is removed, and then we also added the fundraising piece. So this goes over the key pieces of this are the curricular and non-curricular. The curricular clubs are school-sponsored and supported. They'll receive priority for using the use of school facilities, and they have school financial support, or can have school financial support, where the non-curricular are student-initiated and they cannot spend any public funds for that club. It also outlines a mandatory denial for any clubs, what that would look like, what that would be, and an appeals process, which would include the board. And it just puts into a policy a structured way for us to review clubs at our schools. That was a very broad overview, and I know this is a very lengthy policy. Were there anything specific you feel like I missed, Superintendent?
No, I mean, I can speak to it a little bit. I mean, this is very regulated. We looked at making some tweaks and changes, and after review, we felt like it would not still meet, what is in rule and statute, for student clubs. I think, as you think about this from a school board, the board still retains the authority for funding and non-funding of anything that is school district sponsored. There are some rules in here for if it falls under a non-curricular club and public funds can or cannot be spent. So there are some guidelines there the board would have to follow. But as far as thinking about spend plans and clubs, the board really retains still that power of saying, yes, we're going to fund, if you remember, some of our spend plans are for student clubs that are curricular. So that power still remains with the board. As far as authorizing the club, these are very specific state guidelines that we have to follow. So that power is, you're deferring that delegation of authority to the school principal, who then district administration would support in following this policy and implementing this policy at the school level. So while the board wouldn't be the one deciding on the clubs, we're all following the exact same rules at every school that the state is mandating us to use, and then the board retains the authority for any funding, that public funds that are allowable.
Right, yeah, a couple things that I want to add to that too. Just like Superintendent Fitzgerald mentioned, it won't necessarily come at the same time, the approval process for the clubs and fee plans, spend plans for the clubs. So just because a club is approved by a school does not mean that the school board has to fund it. And in fact, if you look at here, one of the parts of the application that they have to follow is that each club has to show the amount and source of any funding provided. So it could take a little bit of training for principals and other supervisors that are going to be over these clubs, that it isn't sufficient for most clubs to say that the source of the funding is going to be from the school board unless that's already been approved by the school board. So that's something that we probably as administrators need to follow up with principals to make sure that that's not something that they're putting on those applications.
So when we look at spend plans again before this next round of clubs, so at this point, once you approve this policy, which we're recommending 2 readings because this is a lengthy policy and we probably need more discussion on this even in November. But once this policy is approved, no, we wouldn't be able to add any more student clubs for the rest of this school year. It would go back to that 20 days in August that they could be approved. Spend plans could still be approved, but again, the clubs, it would be contingent on those clubs being approved. And if they get approved in August and they feel like they want to still submit a spend plan to the board, they can do that. It just would have to have 2 public viewings. So you'd be looking at September and October to be able to review a spend plan for approval, and the soonest would be October, as you could get that approved. So I think there's some ways that the process could play out. I think the other thing to note of why I think it's also important for the school level is that there is an appeal process. So if a club is denied and they want to appeal that, you still need another level to go to, and that could either come to the board or to the designee, which could be the superintendent. So we could take those appeals. So there still needs to be an appeal process in here. So that's another part of that, I guess.
And I don't think there are any non-curricular or curricular clubs that are trying to be formed right now that we're aware of.
Where they don't come to the
Yeah.
district office,
It's hard
it's
to know.
school-based site. I mean, it could be that there's
But
something.
we're just
but-
making sure that we're on top of this in the future.
Yeah, it's
basically.
standardizing, and I think Superintendent mentioned that this policy, I said model policy, and that's accurate, but as we were reviewing it and reading all the different codes and rules tied to clubs, this is almost verbatim of what we're required to have. So we were looking at trying to tweak things, and we just really couldn't. Like, this is
Okay.
really the basis of what we have to have in a policy.
Yeah.
Of course, the school board could always make it a little more restrictive, but we can't be less restrictive than this. So this is really kind of the baseline of what we need to be, where we're talking about standardizing our clubs and the processes.
So there may not be a lot of changes. I mean, there's probably some things we could tweak if the board wanted to, but there's probably not any significant changes you could make to this policy and still be in compliance. And I mean, this policy's been needed, I mean, it's been required for quite some time. So I think this kind of came out around the pandemic time, and so we're just a little behind on getting this out. But so we feel like it's an important thing to have ready to go before we go into spend plans and next school year. But again, it is lengthy, so we really would like the board to take the time to, if you want to have two board sessions. I think the other piece to consider, as we go into November and think about this policy, and then spend plans are right around the corner, a couple months away, is, that was a conversation last year with spend plans, is should the board have, some criteria of what they're going to cover for a curricular club that is just being added, right? So as you think about spend plans, we have tried to align all of the schools, like you can have a t-shirt or a hoodie. Is that something that we would allow all curricular clubs to have? Is if they want to travel to do something that's aligned to curricular, like are we always going to cover that travel? Because once they're approved clubs, then the spend plans are going to come to the board, and then all of them technically could look that way. So as we think about spend plans going into January, that's definitely something we'll have to have more conversations about. So.
Well, yeah, I appreciate all the information that you're giving us related to this and the importance of the policy. So I think that's all good information, so thank you. Are we still on policy? What was the next thing?
I'm done if you're
Any other
done with
questions?
me.
Okay, any questions before we send her away? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry guys, I always have a question, so let's just know that we'll stick me there in there somewhere. My question though, was I know the money part is gonna be the difficult part, that was one of the biggest things. But we don't have any other policies that it conflicts with. I know the donation and, the other ones were brought up. So funding would be probably my biggest thing, but we don't have any other conflicting policies with this policy that we're going to look over. And I agree, a second viewing would be nice to have, although to make sure that everything is clear.
We shouldn't have any conflicting, and so that's why we added the one line under point 12, was that we wanted to make sure they followed all of their district policies. We didn't spell it out, because then if we make changes to the fundraising or donations or fees policy, this policy is still accurate and current. It's just referring them to those policies to follow for anything funding.
The only other policy I think that comes to mind is our travel policy, because we have some specific student organizations that are listed in there that they don't have to come to the board for approval. But I don't think that policy would contradict anything in this policy, because if they weren't approved on a spend plan or they weren't approved through this policy as a curricular club at the school, then the travel policy wouldn't be necessary, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, it did. Okay, that would be my only question to that, because, I know that funding part would be the greater part of kids who want to do a club, curricular and non-curricular, so, thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. Okay, who is, are we, is Jana here?
She is.
Okay. This is the second viewing, correct?
Correct. Second and hopefully final viewing.
These are just adjusted spend plans after looking at our distance ed classes that we offer throughout our district and wanting to make sure that they all align to the right trips that they'll be going on and attending. Just made sure that they were available for all schools.
And this is the same as what we viewed last month. There haven't been any
Correct, no changes.
changes. Okay. Any other questions? Colleen, we'll give you an opportunity.
No questions today. Thank you for correcting me on the last one. So I was like, okay, well, I'm good now. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks.
All right, we're excited to hear about this elementary math curriculum.
It's so exciting.
Jeff Wingate.
All right, so
we've hit the year where we need to do an elementary math curriculum adoption, and we're already kind of underway in the process, but I wanted to let you guys in on the process. And also, our policy on curriculum adoption is pretty sparse. It just talks about how we present to the board and the board makes that determination. So I'm working with superintendent and with Laura on updating that so we have a more clear policy and process in place.
Okay.
But to kind of let you know what's going on right now, we have 3 programs that are being piloted in our schools. We have Eureka Squared, STEM Scopes, and Desmos, which is by Amplify. So those 3 are being piloted, spread out between Monticello Elementary, Bluff Elementary, Montezuma Creek Elementary, and Sabine and Sky Elementary. So they're in various grades, and they're being piloted by various teachers. And those pilots came with full support with PD, with materials, like the whole adoption process is being piloted in those schools. So in January, we're going to have those vendors present virtually to teachers and any other stakeholders who want to be involved virtually, who can see what those programs are about, what materials there are, what the science is behind them. They can get all their questions answered then, and then we'll have a form that we can collect stakeholder input on those curricula for in January. And then we'll have materials available in the schools for teachers and parents to come and view. So we'll have all 3 of those programs available in the schools for people to view and to go through. Then this one's not scheduled yet, but it'll be late February or early March. We'll get a committee of all stakeholders, so we'll have teachers, administrators, parents, hopefully a board member or 2. Who will be for a live presentation with those vendors. We'll have a rubric that everybody will fill out for those 3 vendors, and then we'll have a vote and make the final determination on the adoption then. So
And then that will come back to the board for
yeah,
their
that will
final
come back to the
approval.
board for final approval. Hopefully for the March board meeting, but April at the latest. So
Yeah, I was one of the board members that was in the curriculum committee a couple of years ago related to CCAL.
for language arts, yeah.
So yeah, I remember that process, and I'm glad that you are including as many people as, are willing to be part of the process, and it's good to be informed. So board members that have been advised to be on that committee, I appreciate you making the effort to be involved.
Yeah, so that will be Ron and Donnie that are part of
Yeah.
our teaching and learning. So Jeff Wingett will send out as much information via email, and then anything that you additionally need from him, he'll provide for you. And then, of course, he'll invite you to any of the meetings that they have as well.
Okay.
And it helps the rest of us on the board be more informed about what we are ultimately approving. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, we want to have you there. So any other questions?
I think the only other thing I would add as well, Jeff, is just the scoring for the rubric does include a portion that is price-based, right? So we do look at the cost, but the cost isn't the larger portion of the rubric for points. So, and all 3 of these are state-approved
Yes.
math textbooks that we could use, so we are.
Which
using
is a
those.
little more complicated than language arts, because language arts, we only had 2 choices that were state approved.
Yes.
So there are more math options than language arts, so.
But as we said earlier, exciting.
Yes.
So, yeah. And
I think it'll
hopefully-
be good. It is
Yeah.
definitely time for a refresh, so.
And we
Okay.
had a delay. We should have, actually, we've just been going year to year because the state redid the math standards. So we did not want to adopt a curriculum until the math standards were complete. So now that we're finally.
They're mostly done now.
Mostly. Yeah, they were close enough that we can make a decision on our materials, classroom materials.
Yep.
All right, does anybody have any questions?
Colleen, have a question?
I have a question. My question is there a possibility of staying with the current program that we have? I mean, like, do they have a refresher or an upgraded program to it? I mean, I know like CKLA, we adopted a new one, but I mean, if there's a possibility of upgrading the current program, is that possible?
That would be a possibility. In my conversations with teachers and administrators, they wanted to look at outside programs to maybe update what we have.
Yeah, this program's been in place, I want to say 8 years? Does that sound
Longer
about
than I've
right?
been here. So.
I think 8 years, it might be 9 years, I could go back and look at our adoption list. So it is quite out of date, not aligned to the standards, so they're well, and I'm not sure if they're still on the state approved list, so
I didn't
that's-
see them when I
Yeah,
went
so
through.
I think it is a program that over time, with updates in education, and that it's just out of alignment for what we need at this time. So if it's not on the state approval, for sure, it cannot. We wouldn't be looking at it, but we could double check on that, Colleen, and find out.
Yeah, I'll look and see if it's on the list, but yeah, my conversations with teachers and principals has led to the outside, to looking outside for different options.
That was more just a curiosity thing or a possibility that we could stay with that same program, but I'm excited for students and stakeholders and everybody involved that this is a possibility that we can have a new program, so thank you.
Yep, you're welcome, thank you. Any
All right.
other questions?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Dr. Begay and Mr. Murdoch.
Good afternoon, board. Hopefully you can hear me well.
Speaking of training again, I see the word in there.
I was going to say,
Mandated training for
here's
the board.
another mandatory training. This little portion is going to take care of your mandatory training for the school land trust program and what the school board's responsibility for overseeing that program within our district is. We have a document on display, and then I gave you a physical copy as well. I'm going to go over the top portion, and then Derek will go over the bottom portion. This link that's in the top of that document that has the video link, that has a short video. We don't need to watch it now. I'm going to read through that, but if you had 6 minutes, you're welcome to watch that at your leisure. It basically goes through these 5 responsibilities of the school board. So 1, establish clear policies and timelines for school community councils. So this means, how do we in our district hold SEC elections? If ever there was a conflict of interest, you guys would be involved in resolving that. You work on helping deadlines. Also, you're a big part of our monitoring of how we implement this, and then helping make sure that our SEC plans align with our district goals and academic priorities. The second one is conducting annual training. So we're doing that right now. We also conduct principals training during principals meetings for school community council for them. And then they would hold that with their school community councils in their council meetings, usually in the September meeting, where they perform trainings there. And we make sure that our district administrators know this and that we are trained. And then if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to Derek and I on this. You're to actively oversee program implementation and monitor spending. So you do that by reviewing the plans, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, especially how are the funds being used and how are they impacting student success. And you do that in your school reports as well, because usually principals talk about their SEC plan, their goals, what the outcomes are for students there. You receive and evaluate annual final reports. That's one of the things that we're going to ask for today, as a timeline or a date to receive those reports and review those. But they are carefully reviewed, first by Derek and I, and then we recommend them to you guys. Have they been implemented well? Have the funds been spent how they should be? And was there positive impact on student outcomes? The last major responsibility is reviewing and approving school land trust plans and council signature forms. And we're asking for that date as well. And that would mean that Derek and I would review those, or at the district level, we'd review those, then recommend them to the board. And also there's SEC signature forms, meaning that, do these plans comply with the regulations? Are they part of and follow in alignment with the district's overall academic priorities? And we would make those recommendations to the board. I'm going to turn it over to Derek.
I have to lower the mic. So the next document is an attachment. If you could open that one. And this one is just the approval of the identified dates. Oh, there's access. It's hidden. No, I'm just kidding. Paul will get that to you. But this is just asking for those two dates to be identified, which is February 2nd, 2026 for the final reports, and March 16th, 2026 for the upcoming school plans. So at that time, we'll bring those back to the board, I believe, in April. So that's what the document says. Again, you have it attached on your hard copy. That's the second page. Going back to the first page is kind of the timeline. So I'll just kind of speak briefly to that as well. If you go back to the previous document. Did it link you? I think you have to go back on that one. Yeah. So there are several dates. The October 20th applies to the school sites. So the schools and the SECs will have a council membership form, a principal assurance form, and then they'll update their SEC website. And they're having to do that. The state will come in and look at those websites to see if they're in compliance with the regulations. So right now, all of the schools have been given a template to make sure that they update that information and are in compliance with that. The next deadlines are pertaining to the final reports. So it opens up from USBE on January 15th of 2026. That's when the schools can go in and update their information for the final reports. They will then have a set date for that to come back to the school board. And so that's the date we're asking for, February 2nd. And then after that, we will go into looking at when the trust plans are due within the website as well. And again, once those are all completed within the online system, they will be brought back to the school board for approval in the April meeting. And then lastly is just May 15th is when the state starts looking at those to look at the plans and then give any feedback and then to allow the funding to be given for the next school year. Are there any questions? Colleen, just kidding.
As the newest member here, do we do this every year? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah,
I was
so-
kind of on the other side of the SEC, but, okay.
Yeah, so there's some other videos if you want to get into the weeds of like the origins of School Land Trust, talks about how it's been funded and the program and how long it's been running. So we can provide those to you as well too if you want the background information.
I think, yeah, I did look at some.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a member of the SEC, you probably would have received some of that training.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the link that's on the board docs has all of the training materials for all the roles, but the board as well. So if you want to watch any of this in more detail, it's all on that link that's on the board agenda.
Okay.
Colleen, did you have any questions?
Surprisingly, I don't. Thank you for that timeline. It definitely makes it easier to see what the work that we need to set forth as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, now we're to the meat of the meeting. Back to you.
Okay. So I wanted to bring this to the board, and Paul and Derek are going to stay with us, so they can
Yeah.
answer anything specific. But I wanted to provide the 90-day plans to the board for your review, and also just have a little bit of a conversation about school improvement and what school improvement looks like. So when we speak about our 90-day plans, we're really talking about this is our school improvement plan, and we take it in 90-day chunks, but typically it's smaller tweaks that are being made mid-year for the next half of the year for the next 90 days. So there's not going to be significant changes typically. You'll also see that some of the plans look a little different than others. So, and let me tell you the reason for that is our schools are designated by the state based upon accountability measures for different designations, which have different requirements. So what we've tried to do is take the 90-day plan template and then just add things into it that will meet those requirements. So some of our schools may have to do more depending on their designation. So we have 2 schools that are in comprehensive school improvement for identified student groups, which means 5% of that student, they scored in the lowest 5% for that student group in the state. And what happens is they go in we call it targeted school improvement, and then it becomes additional school improvement for that targeted group, and then eventually becomes comprehensive school improvement for that targeted group. So the requirements, whether a school is in TSI, ATSI, or CSI, are all a little bit different. But we wanted to streamline this for administrators to make it a little bit easier. So we've tried to adapt the 90-day plan template so that they're just doing the same plan instead of having to do all of these other things. If you're in comprehensive school improvement, I know some of our board members supported the development of those plans. It's a little bit more extensive and the requirements are more. We've also looked at how we can support on the district level to pick up some of that additional work from the school level to support principals as they develop these 90-day plans with their school leadership team and their school community councils. So one of the things that we are working on currently is developing some protocols, also looking at how we on the district level can review the plans, also how we can do the resource allocation reviews for the schools and then just provide that information for their review. So just to try to take some of the work out of all of these requirements that ultimately come from the federal level down to us. So we're trying to keep that process as streamlined as possible. The other thing I just also wanted to explain was I've told you a few of those supports, but some of the other things that are happening, and Paul, you can speak to this a little bit. This has happened over a number of years of having the school leadership teams come together and have a consultant come in and help facilitate some of that work of developing those plans. Currently, we have the elementary schools that are still participating with that. I think all of our secondary are moving on without that additional support. And then we also have started having monthly support meetings that are targeted. So as a whole district team, we would love to go to every school and support their school improvement efforts every month, but it just isn't possible with all the roles that we have. So what we've done is our two schools that are in comprehensive school improvement, we have a meeting with them once a month. We go in, and we just started that this year. We go in and do a walkthrough of the schools, some observations, review of their 90-day plan, and then they share information that they have, the progress they're making, and what supports they need, so that we can just all at once get all of that support for them. That's our goal with that. So we're doing that with our two schools in comprehensive school improvement. And then we also have targeted two of our schools that just need the additional support. So we also are doing that monthly meeting. So that gives us two communities that we're working in once a month with 4 schools that we're supporting with that work. So I think we've just started that. I think that's going to be a good process that we continue to do over time. We're also looking at changing some of the work that we do in our principals meeting. So we're looking at having a principals PLC based upon what is in the 90-day plan, so that we're looking at student achievement data and our implementation data of those action steps, and that they're doing that with each other collaboratively. And then we also have some principals share based around those school improvement initiatives, because we have some amazing things going on throughout our schools, and they're all a little bit different. So coming together and having our leaders share that information helps influence, what else they can do or how they can tweak it to make it for their school. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. We can answer specific questions about any of the plans or just the overall kind of school improvement process. The state will be giving our new designations. It's delayed this year because they had a new assessment for English language arts. So we'll get those designations. I think they'll go public in January. So all of any designations. So if we have any schools that get out of a certain category or go into a certain category, we will update the board as soon as we have that information.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive, and I appreciate it. One suggestion I would make, just as I still consider myself a new board member, I know I've been here a couple of years, and we've got Dawn, there are a lot of acronyms. So in some instances, it might be nice to have a little key that says this is what we're referring to.
I want to second that. Thank you very much.
But one of the common themes that I saw in here, which resonated with me because I was a student teacher once upon a time, and one of the things that was most important to me as in the process of trying to become an effective teacher is being clear about what you're teaching the students. I saw that across several different schools, several different communities. Do we have coaches? Do we have teacher support? Like, what are we doing to make that stronger?
Yeah, so teacher clarity is a research-based, we know we can get a high effect size outcome, with teacher clarity, and it has very specific components. And we've been working on teacher clarity when did 808 start? We participated in Assessment to Achievement, which was provided by the state. Was it pre-pandemic? Like it's been a long time that we've been working on that. So that's part of the reason you're seeing it is this is still working on implementing that. So that's why in some of our school plans, it's still there. It's something we're still working on across the district.
It's always important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there's been extensive training on teacher clarity
Oh, great.
in all of our schools. And then each school's kind of taken different pieces that they still need to target and have provided additional supports. We do work with a number of consultants, and, with the ESSER funding, we had a lot of funding available to bring in additional supports. Then now that that's gone, and based upon feedback that we had too much PD that was overwhelming and we needed to be a little more targeted. So, with our theme this year of rock solid systems and effectiveness, we've really taken a step back to say, how do we provide better individual support for schools based upon their 90-day plan, which is, of course, based upon a needs assessment and their student achievement data, based upon what that school needs to target, and how can we support that versus all of these trainings that we keep having. So if someone needs specific training, we can help facilitate that as needed, instead of saying everyone in the district is going to get this specific
absolutely.
training. Like you would with an adoption or something. What else would you add to that as we think about supports? And we could talk about the instructional coaching models that we have as well. I know we talked about that a couple months ago, but
one of the things that sticks out this year is we're really focusing on the adult or the teacher behavior. What can they do to help change and modify that data? So we're not getting specific in the student data. Yes, we're utilizing it to make changes and support, but we're looking at the adult behaviors. They're the ones who can make the changes within their classroom, and that goes back to the teacher clarity. So I think that's one big point of emphasis that's different this year, and I think that's a lot of stress that's going to be put on by the principals as well to kind of help their teachers, but that's where the coaching and the teaching, the mentoring all falls into place as well.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that the 90-day plans are specific for the school needs.
Yeah.
And so as they work to address whatever the needs are in their building, some are common across buildings, some are unique, that they're allowed to utilize their resources in a way that meets their needs.
And I would say, as we think about the needs for school improvement, some of the things we've brought to the board, the majority of what comes to the board goes back to that. Like, what do we need to do to support our leaders? We have amazing instructional leaders in our building. What can we do to support the efforts individualized for their schools? So, for example, we brought the TSSA amendment, not last time, but I think it was in June maybe, about adding a special education specialist and family liaison. So we've been able to do that because the board approved that amendment to the TSSA framework and that funding. And, when we think about school improvement and the areas we're designated in, students with disabilities is our top area that we have the most schools designated for. So adding that additional staff member from the district team to go out and support and coach and review files and support special ed teachers with their planning. That really was very intentional, and the board supported that, and we appreciate that. If you remember last month, you approved an additional amendment for additional MTSS and school improvement, so that could be flexible throughout the year, that funding of how we're going to use that. We provided the schools with additional PBIS funding as part of their TSSA framework as well, so that kind of aligns with that as well. So I think, when we bring things to the board, I hope that this helps you see individually, this agenda item is for you to see individually what's happening for improving student outcomes and school improvement as you get, because a lot of times the board gets the big picture things that are tied to the individual things. And, when we have our monthly reports from our schools, you get an overview of their 90-day plan. That's how we've designed, what they bring to you. But I think this gives you a little bit more in-depth look. And when you think about all of our plans, the board approved all of our TSSA plans. They approved our prevention plans for substance use. You approve our school and trust plans. You aren't required to approve our 90-day plans, but I feel like they all align together. So for you to, they're coming at you in all different ways, but hopefully what you're seeing is that alignment also as you review our expenditures and how schools are spending the money, that you're seeing this alignment they all go back to school improvement and creating better outcomes for our students. So we're hoping by adding this other piece, this has kind of been a little bit of the missing piece, I think, as we've worked with the board, is having you see the whole plan in its entirety and be able to speak to that.
Well, and I would also say that, sometimes it seems a little scary looking at, okay, these are the issues that we have, this is what we need to work on. But as you look at all of the things in the plan, you see the steps that they're taking and the leadership meetings that are happening, and there's more to it than just this is what we're addressing. And so I think it's really good to see the whole picture in that way and not to be alarmed by what might seem negative in that.
Well, I think we don't actually see the numbers at the principal level.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in the SEC, you know, they had it in front of us. This is what we're gonna do. You know, this is what we plan to do. So that is good to have in general. You know, it's like, okay, well, percentages, you know, jump in this department will look great. So, yeah, definitely something that will be useful moving forward.
Okay, Colleen, we don't want to leave you out. What did you have?
I did have a comment though, with Derek on the teacher clarity or the teacher adult behavior. I'm hoping that we're stressing to the teachers and principals that it's okay that if there are some negative aspects, we want to know what these things are so we can help to, I hope we're stressing to them that don't cover or don't say that this is not working enough for them, or, you know, I would really like to see that the constructive criticism, or, you know, if we're lacking in certain areas, that they need to be, bring those forth so we can help as a whole unit, as a whole district. And with what Christy was saying, is that this is only as a support for them as the teacher, the principal, and overall for the district, for the betterment of the students. So I know a lot of times it seems like we want to just glaze over and say, well, this is not really a big issue. This is something I can micromanage or I can contain, or, I mean, I would like those small things to be presented or brought forth to the front as well, so that we have the area to be like, okay, we can all collectively come together and say, you know, we can fix this, or this is how we can improve it, or, you know, take from one another, other principal leadership, or through these monthly meetings, or even through the walkthrough. So I hope that's something that we're able to stress to, again, the teachers with their adult behavior, as well as the teacher clarity, and with the principals as well, because I worry that sometimes the school itself or the principal themselves don't want to be like, well, you know, this is not working here, so I don't really want to bring forth this and say that this is where we're still being challenged at. So I just wanted to, if we can stress and say, hey, you know what, any problem smaller and not what you might think is small, you know, bring it forth so that we can put our heads together and find a solution. That was just going to be my comment to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're on to policy again, and this time it's,
I just want to say that I know this puts a lot of stress on our teachers and
Yeah.
a lot of work, extra work.
but we do want to support them.
And, yeah, and we do want to support them.
Yeah.
And we want them to feel comfortable and make sure we're compensating them as they go through all these things.
Thank
So-
you.
And we really do have such amazing employees. I mean, when you look at the length of time and how long we have our tenured teachers for, the additional endorsements and degrees, graduate degrees that they have, you know, you look at right now we're in a great place with all of our, you know, principals and the length of time. We still have some that are somewhat newer, but I mean, it's just been really exciting to see the systems in place, like our Q-tip program that, you know, we are getting principals from that's such instructionally based. So I think it's a shift to saying, you know, when we put resources and time and effort, money towards things, it's really looking at that instructional piece. And that's really, you say, what is the wealth of San Juan School District? Well, our buildings, right, and they're going to last a certain amount of time, but really the wealth in this school district is that wealth of knowledge. If you combine all of our employees and their wealth of knowledge, that's really what is making us successful. And as we continue to bring that together, that's going to help us really have better outcomes. So I can't say enough about the amazing employees that we have and the work that they do.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your comments. And we'll excuse you and turn the time over to you.
Perfect, yeah. So we're just looking at policy 3100 here, which is financial administrative protocols. We just wanted to take a look at making some small changes here. The first change, if you scroll down to 3100.5. and this is under K. At least I think it's 3100.5. Yes, it is. So a little bit farther down there. A little bit more just to subsection K. So the first change here is just that first clause at the beginning, and if you look at the red line, you can see that as well. It just says, the original said, it just started out where it starts at contracts. Right here, just at K. So where it originally started in the current, it starts at right after that first comma, contracts must follow guidelines outlined in the state procurement code. The only thing that we're adding to that is that first clause that says, in addition to the rules and guidelines in this policy, and that just puts everyone on notice that there are going to be some additions to just the procurement code within this policy. And so the additional change will be at the very bottom here. And that is 3100.18. Wait till we get down here. And that's just at the very bottom of that, Jared.
It's a long policy.
It is a long policy. Mhm. Unfortunately, we're not making it too much longer. So we added this, I added this section for authority to bind San Juan School District. Basically, you'll see the language in here just requires that any contract, memorandum of understanding, or other agreement that exceeds 12 months, or that is over $100,000, either as a one-time payment or in the aggregate to one vendor in a fiscal year, must either be approved by the superintendent and the business administrator, or by the San Juan School District. The Board of Education, excuse me. So either of those things is okay, but we wanted to add this language, and you'll see in subsection 2 a little bit, I'll just read that too. It just basically says that to the extent allowable by law, contracts that do not follow this approval process in subsection 1 are voidable by San Juan School District, which means that the school district has the option to declare such contracts as void. We don't have to declare them as void, that's what that language means, but if we look at a contract within reasonable time and say that, this didn't go through the proper approval channels, and we also do not like the contract, it can be declared void by the San Juan School District. So just under the current procurement code, to kind of give you the history of why we're making these changes, there are some contracts that are exempted from the normal rules and procedures in the procurement code, such as contracts with vendors that have a state cooperative contract or contracts between LEAs. And this policy would just require that even these types of contracts still have to go through some sort of an internal approval process, whether that is through signature by myself and the superintendent or by the San Juan School District Board. It just kind of adds a little bit of layer protection for the school district.
So there are some times that we have an MOU that doesn't need to come before the board, that it can be approved by, but we're ultimately saying different directors or whatnot can't just create their own MOU and just go with it, or?
Correct, yeah. If it exceeds any of these things, either the $100,000 or the 12 months, and with talking with superintendent, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a one-time expenditure. If we're paying a vendor more than $100,000 in a single fiscal year, if it starts getting to that point as well, those are other contracts that we feel like need a little bit more of just a couple set of eyes on those as well to make sure that they're approved. And without bogging down the board, because we're signing plenty of contracts and MOUs that exceed these standards every single year, and it would delay a lot of really important things if we brought every one of these to the board. But there might be some certain situations where it does make sense to bring a contract or an MOU to the board, and so we wanted to make either of those an option for approving these types of contracts.
We're just making sure that there is more oversight regarding any of these types of
Correct.
things.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other questions related to? Colleen?
Yeah, I did have a question. And can you just clarify for me again? Did you say it would either be approved by just yourself or both yourself and Superintendent Fitzgerald?
So that first option requires that it be approved by both of us.
And that would be the recommended way to go to safeguard ourselves and the district as well from these?
I believe so. I think it just adds an extra layer of protection, so something doesn't come to my desk or Superintendent Fitzgerald's desk, and without knowing too much behind it or behind the history of everything surrounding that contract or MOU, we just sign off on it this way. If we do have a contract that is kind of a heavier contract, it just adds another person that has the opportunity to take a look at that contract and see if it's the direction that we want to go. And, there could be situations where the business administrator and the superintendent might have a difference of opinion, and that's why it's also good to have that option that if one of us feels like one of these contracts is worthwhile and the other one just wants another set of eyes on that, we can also take that to the board and have the board decide whether or not that type of contract is worthwhile.
And that's for the 100,000 plus or a 12-month contract, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So most of the policy is the same as it already was. There's only been a couple of changes? or
Yeah,
is
those
it all
are
different?
the only changes that have been
Okay.
made. The rest are the same. So
That was
this
what I
this is
thought.
a new section, 3100.18, and then the only other change that was made is in K, just 3100.5K, just to make sure that people aren't looking at that and saying that we only follow what's in the procurement code. We added a little bit of addition to that. So. And this is one that I would probably recommend that we approve today, but I understand as well, it's not a lot of addition here, but it is a heavy addition here, so if we did want to wait another board meeting, I'd understand, but I would recommend that we approve it today unless someone wants to take a closer look at it and look at it again in November.
Does anyone have any other comments related to that? Yeah, thanks for your recommendation, and did you have something?
I said,
No.
no, have a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Approving it today.
All right. The next item is, also you. Oh, is it 4? It is 4. We want to hear from from the schools. This is exciting also. So we'll go ahead and call Amanda. It's your turn.
I've been sitting too long. Good evening. I am here from LaSalle today to just talk to you a little bit about our school. Things are going really great. We have a total of 9 students this year. 4 of those are pre-K. We have no kindergarten this year. We have 4 first graders and only 1 second grader. So our pre-K comes only in the afternoons, and the rest of the kids are there all day. We are just moving forward. So as you'll look through there, you can go ahead to the next one. On our 90-day plan, ours looks different than most people's 90-day plan does, and that is because I have to redact things for you. All students in first and second grade will score proficient or better on the middle of year Acadience reading benchmark assessment, and all I can tell you about that is we are getting that from our data. It was very clear that reading was the area that we needed to focus in. And it is what we work on most of the time. If you live in the K2 land, it's all reading all day. And then the second goal there is by October 1st, students in preschool will have a robust, active schedule that ensures daily literacy and math learning activities, including a curriculum math. And on that point, we are moving forward. We are making progress toward that. The preschool is a lot. They are a lot of energy and a lot of excitement and a lot of boys. A lot of boys, and they are great, and I love them. We finally have settled into a schedule that makes sense. They are working up to their number of minutes. They are improving on how long they can sit and learn something, work on a single task. It started out at about 4 minutes, and I think today we sat for 30 minutes and worked with the letter I. And so that was a big achievement. That's a lot for preschool. We are moving forward into just making sure that making sure that activity and coming to school is really beneficial for the child. Preschool came about a few years ago. We had district-wide, we were the lowest incoming kindergartners. They scored lower on incoming tests than any other kindergarten. LaSalle is a long ways from any help. It's a long way to drive a student to Moab or Monticello for preschool. And most of my parents work. They work somewhere, rather within the, most work in the school actually. And so having that pre-K help was something that we really felt as a staff that we needed to do, and we got a lot of support from Mr. Murdoch and Superintendent Fitzgerald, and we put in pre-K as kind of an experiment. Let's see what happens, and we have loved it. We would never go back, unless we're forced to, I guess. Unless you say I have to. So I really can only tell you about our attendance, which is 94%. The only attendance issues, we've had a couple of sicknesses in LaSalle being the size that it is. When a sickness comes through, it wipes us all out. You could tell that I'm recovering from said sickness. Otherwise, I can't tell you how they're doing. I can tell you that they're working very hard, and you're always welcome to come sit with us and hang out on the rug and see what we're learning. Certainly welcome anyone to come and visit us. We've seen a lot of our newer district people this year, and that's been fun for the students to see new people. So I was thinking, what can I tell you? Because I always feel kind of dumb standing up here telling you I can't tell you anything, but we're doing great. So this year I asked some family members, I put it out to everyone in the school, all families, if they wanted to make a statement regarding what they see in their own students' growth. And so on the next slide here, these are quotes directly from parents, and I'll give you a few minutes to read over those. All I asked was that they just tell me that they could share how their student was doing, what they see. I did redact the name of the child out of a couple of them, but the parents wanted their names on their quote. And there was one more that came in today. It was a little bit late, so. Our school, one of the goals that I have for our school is that the school is part of the family and the family is part of the school. And you will know that if ever you come to any event. Today we had a grandmother in the school, a mother, we had an aunt that came, we had a mom and a dad of different families for breakfast. We often have parents in our building and they feel like they can come in, they can come for a few minutes. Our joke, it's sort of true though, if you come a lot, I might hire you. So, so they come for breakfast, they come for reading, they sit in, we have a phonics lesson in the morning, and oftentimes we have a second row of people learning about why we can't end a word with C in English. So they have we have a lot of times we have parents in our building. You can end a word with C, by the way, which is not very often. So we really feel like our parents are part of us and really important to what we do every day. You can we are really, really rigorous. We're very explicit in the way that we teach our phonics. I'm a big believer in the big five of reading and why we have to break these skills down. And they all work together, yes, but they all have to be explicitly taught. We really work hard on phonics and the rules of why do sounds make what they make. What is the history? What is the origin? Where do we see those? What are the exceptions to said rule? Because there's always some of those. We work on that every single day. And the way that looks, everybody works together, even though they're multiple grade levels. Reading is still reading. Doesn't matter really how old you are, it's still the same thing. And we work together on that. Then they break into their grade level or appropriate level instruction, and they work on things that we have already learned as a whole group, and they backtrack a little bit off and work more in depth and add in the reading piece to that every day. We probably spend 3.5 hours in reading instruction, and that is direct instruction every single day. Preschool gets their own reading lesson, and we talk. Theirs is a lot more of the phonemic awareness piece and just very beginning phonics. I had a little preschooler who read the word fist today, and he was so excited. He ran around showing me his fist because he could read the word fist, and that's a big deal when you're 4 years old. Preschoolers have settled down. I already spoke to that. So, boy, they are full of energy. That is a very, very excited group. And then our celebration, we have just such a great staff. You will not find a better staff anywhere. Everybody is so dedicated to knowing that why we're there. We know why we're there. We want to make sure our students are safe, emotionally and physically safe, and that we are there to learn. Students run from one room to the next saying, I just found ER in a word, and they run to our cook and she tells them and she cheers with them, and then they run back into the class. No, we never walk in the halls. Sorry, we don't ever walk in the halls. There's only a few kids though. And these are just some really dedicated people. And because in LaSalle nobody has just one job, everybody has multiple jobs. Our custodian, she subs. She's also a mom. She's also the president of our SCC. Our Miss Rosie subs. She subbed for me today so I could be here this afternoon for a little while. And 3 of those ladies are parents within our building as well. So they're really dedicated, and we couldn't do this without such a great staff. And then our challenge, because we are small and we understand that we're small, and we also understand that we're very far away from things, sometimes services can be a challenge. Special education works really hard to make sure that we get our time, but things like counseling, school counseling, social workers, those can take some time, and they can require some driving for families, and that can be hard, and there's no way to really fix it, but we do our best to support families, but that is a challenge that many of our people face.
Okay, well, thank you. With your preschoolers, are they all pre-K, or are some of them a little bit younger than that?
I have one student that came in under Child Find who is younger,
Okay.
and then 3 that are 4 years old.
Okay, so they'll most likely be in your kindergarten next year.
Yes, LaSalle always changes things.
I know.
Things change
That's
quickly
why
in
I said
LaSalle.
most likely. I
Most
know.
likely.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have outside resources coming to the school? Like behavioral health from?
No, we do
or
not.
Counseling? Okay.
We do not. We get a visit every year from the health department comes out to visit us. But as far as an actual resource coming in and helping, we do not. So if a student needs behavioral health or mental health services, we help them to find that help, but we can't provide it. So what they're having to do is drive to Monticello and meet there, or find that outside of the school. And so they are responsible for that. We have a family who drives to Moab, for example, and works with Four Corners Health down there. And so the outside resources, we don't have those. It's a long ways, and we know that.
Colleen, did you have any questions or comments?
I did have a comment. I just wanted to commend you and your staff and your community. It takes a village, right? And this is definitely proving that much so. So kudos to everyone, and I cannot say how much we appreciate the support that you get, even as a little school. I mean, the more people, the more support you get, the better, and the more successful our students will be. So just hats off to you all.
definitely come out and visit us on your way somewhere to Salt Lake or something. Drop by and visit us. We like having people come in. The kids are not
Definitely
shy
going
about
to.
visitors at all.
Thank you.
Good to hear your parents are involved too.
They are really excited about being in the building, and, you know, they show up, they're funny. They take their shoes off and lay on the floor, and, you know, somebody's chatting about whatever is going on in their world, and I like it that way. I like that they feel like they can be there and be supportive and be involved within this building, and we have some career things that happen. And we get a lot of our parents who sign up, and we want to show what we do to the kids. And so this year we've already had a mom say, she's a doctor actually that lives in LaSalle. And she says, I will happily come in and show the students. We've had firefighters last week that are parents showing off their skills. So it's kind of a community effort, and it's something that we like a lot.
That's good.
Thank you. Okay. Back to you, Jeff Wingate.
I just want to add really quickly, as somebody who spent their first 6 years of my career in a small school like that, I taught in Bullfrog. I think everybody should spend time in a small community school like that, because it really is a family. You know, the school becomes the hub of everything, and it's really an awesome experience. So good job, Amanda. It's a cool experience. All right, so we'll open up the teaching, learning, and assessment department slide. So this is a new department. We've kind of merged curriculum and assessment together. So I want to give a quick assessment update, and that's not on my thing, but I have two updates. So language arts scores for RISE and Aspire Plus are on their way. They have told us they'll be here in October, but like I use as an example, they told us the EISP grant would be available in July, and it was available the 1st of September. So it kind of moves at the speed of bureaucracy. So I'm hoping that we'll have those soon to be able to add to our data dashboards and start to look at the work that we've done. The reason they're taking a long time is they redid the ELA standards. So once they redo the standards, then they have to redo the assessment. We'll have the same thing with math next year with the new math standards. So, and the other thing is our Aspire Plus test that is used for 9th and 10th grade. This will be the last year that that test is given. We're going to move to RISE. The same vendor that does RISE is going to do our 9th and 10th grade testing. I'm hopeful that will give us some continuity. We give the RISE assessment from 3rd grade to 8th grade right now. So if we have that same continuity in 9th and 10th, I think that'll be good. So there's just two little assessment updates. What I really want to talk about is the teaching and learning side of this, because I'm really excited about it, and it's not as bland as assessment. So, all right. So our mission as a department is to empower all San Juan School District students with a strong foundation in literacy and ensure a high quality, culturally sustaining, and data informed education. You made it move while I was reading. Fostering lifelong learning and informed citizenship through innovative, personalized, and competency-based practices that embrace our unique community. Really, really, really want to focus on literacy and engagement. Those are kind of the things that we want to focus on in our schools. So if you'll go to the next one. And if we do that, we hope to become a beacon of literacy and empower all of our students to achieve their full potential as engaged, educated citizens who will strengthen our community for generations. I really think that's important here in San Juan County, because we're so remote and we have such unique needs that we need to home grow our leaders, right? Our leaders, we need to empower them to go get an education and get the skills that they need to come back and benefit our community. So that's our mission and vision as a department. All right, go on. So in order to do that, we have 3 goals that we're working on, and this is based on our data, and if you have questions about our data as we go through, feel free to ask. But with a focus on literacy, the first 2 really focus on that. So by the end of the school year, we want to have all of our teachers receive support to consistently integrate reading strategies into their core instruction, as evidenced by classroom observation by district directors, school administrators, and peers. And I really want to focus on the idea that this doesn't mean that in math class they're reading James Joyce or that they're reading Poe or whatever. They're learning how to read for math class. So they're learning how to read story problems. They're learning how to decode what the math problem is asking them. In science, the same thing, or they're learning how to read scientific papers, or they're learning how to engage with science content. And what we see is if you do that, then achievement goes up in all of those areas. I have a friend who teaches auto mechanics, and he sits his students down and they learn how to read the auto manual. They learn how to look at subheadings and walk through it, and those skills are different than, the reading skills that we think you get in English class. I was an English teacher for 15 years, and I don't know how to teach a kid how to read an auto manual. I know how to teach a kid how to read, like I said, maybe not James Joyce, that's a bad example, but something like Hemingway or things like that. So each class has their own content area things that we want to focus on. And so to do that, we're going to create a repository for teachers to share content area literacy strategies. We've already got this set up in Canvas, and we're starting to add things to that. But that helps us leverage the expertise of our teachers. One of my big focuses is that we have really strong teachers in our district. We have a lot of professional capital, and we need to utilize that. And so that's the big part of these goals, is how do we leverage the teachers and the expertise that we already have. And then the third goal is that the assessment department will provide accurate and timely student achievement data to all relevant stakeholders in order to be more data-driven in our decision making. And we'll disaggregate that to shed light on the needs of the district based on those kind of discrete student groups that our CSI and TSI groups are. So these are our special education students, our racial demographic groups, our multilingual learner students, things like that that we're assessed on, and that our success as a school district is based on. All right. And so we sent out a video called "Every Teacher is a Reading Teacher," which you are welcome to watch on your own time. It's about 15 minutes long. But it goes through the data that led to this decision to focus on literacy, and talks about some of the strategies that we'll use. And then, like I said, we've started to gather strategies. So our ELA department lead, Shanda Wingate, has already created a video strategy for using sentence and discussion frames. The curriculum specialist and library media specialist, Wendy Haas, is creating a close reading strategy. It says closer up there. I caught the typo this afternoon as I was going through this. But close reading, not closer reading. And then our new science department lead, Kim D, is preparing a lesson on teaching literacy in the science classroom. And those will be shared in kind of monthly virtual department meetings where we can share out and share specific content area resources for teachers to use to teach literacy. And then as far as the data piece goes, that's the assurance ledger. It's linked there. And Jared, can you click on that? We're trying to put all of our data in one place, and it's a work in progress. You can already see there's not links for some of those. We're still working on building this, but I do want to show you how it works and answer questions if you have them. So Jared, can you click on the equity reports? And just the Acadians equity report is fine. So what we're doing as a department is we're trying to get data that is able to be sorted and looked at in different ways so that we can find patterns and we can find areas for growth in our data. So these equity reports are 100% searchable. So if I want to see our students with disabilities, you can click on that pie where it says students with disabilities, it says 17.6%. If you click on that, that will filter the report for just our students with disabilities. And then you can go by school name. Jared, if you want to hit reset, up at the top right-hand corner. There you go. We can also search by our racial group. So if you click on American Indian or Alaska Native, that sorts it that way. So you can just see our results for different groups that you want to see. Even the reading composite pie charts that are down there are clickable. So if you want to see a student who was at a 1 or needed a lot of improvement, you can click on that. So Jared, if you want to click on the big red one on reading composite boy. So these were our beginning of year students and then how we move them going forward. So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to talk about, but pretty much everything on these reports is clickable. So as you go through them and look at them, go ahead and click on them. If you have questions, send me an email. I'd be happy to talk to you about them. But these are the kind of data projects that we're working on to make sure that we put clear, actionable data in front of our teachers and in front of our administrators to make decisions going forward. All right, you can go back to my presentation. All right, and then I have a request form there. I've sent that out to principals, so if they have data to request, that's how they can request it. All right, next slide. All right, celebrations. I made a little collage there, but I'm not very artistic, so I just slapped pictures on a slide. But the top left-hand picture there is really special to me. A few years ago, I was tasked by the superintendent with some feedback from several citizens in the community to start a Civics Day. And so that's a picture from our second annual Civics Day where we brought community leaders in, politicians, civil servants, and we had the students get to interact with them. It was a great event. Like I said, the second year that we've done it, and it's only getting better as we go. But I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of the work that we've done with those Civics Days. So mark your calendar now, September 17th next year at San Juan High School. We'll be doing it again. The picture on the top right is from one of our strategy sessions. That's Shanda Wiggett. She's the English department chair. That's her sharing about discussion frames and sentence frames. So that's going in our repository of things. Bottom left-hand corner, it's my little nerdy edition of that. That is from a database of school data that we have. I actually picked my son, so if I violate anybody's privacy, it's him. But if you see, so we have a whole big group of data points, but if you look down at the bottom, it says show 404 more fields. I have roughly 400 data points for every student in the district in that database. So longitudinal assessment data, attendance data, plus our demographics data, all of those reports are built out of this database. So it's been something that I've worked on for several years since I got here, and I'm really excited about what we're doing with that database. But I wanted to kind of show you the back end of it. Like, there really is a lot of data that we can pull from to make decisions about our students. And then the other two graphics there, I put as celebrations, but you're going to see them in a minute too. So we give a TOSCRIF test, which is test of silent contextual reading. reading fluency that we give to our secondary students. And we have found that if students score over 100 on that test, they're way more likely to be successful on the RISE and Aspire Plus and ACT tests. And so beginning of year, we have 55% of our students already over that 100 mark, which I think is something to be celebrated. We have over half of our students there. And we see the same type of thing with our reading composite proficiency in Acadians, which is the other graphic there, that we're at about 50% there for students who are reading proficiently. So those are our celebrations, and then if you'll click to our challenges are the same graphic. Our challenges are, right now, we have about half of our students reading proficiently, but that's not good enough. We have about half of our students who aren't, who need extra support, who need that help that we want to give them. And so those are the challenges that we're working on. So yeah, those two reports, both a celebration that we're higher than we have been in the past at the beginning of year, quite a lot higher actually, which speaks to the work that's being done in our schools. But we also have a long ways to go. And I just think it's our ethical, like it's our ethical requirement that we teach kids how to read, that we move that up a lot higher. So, but anyway, those are the things that we're working on in our department. You guys have any questions, comments? Colleen?
I just wanted to say I had fun during Civics Day. That was, I did warn you all, I did like to talk a lot, so that was one of the things that was pretty funny for everyone to see.
Yeah, we really appreciated you stepping in kind of last minute.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. I just wanted to ask, with this new department, have you been able to see some of the growth? I know the reading was one of the gaps that we really wanted to close. And I know it's still at the beginning of the year, but have you been able to see some improvement?
Our beginning of year scores, and I should have brought beginning of year from last year and year before, but they are markedly higher this year. And I mean, that has nothing to do with my department. That's the teachers doing good work. But we are seeing growth in literacy.
Great.
And if you look at, there are some really big bright spots that have been focusing on literacy for a while. You can see on that chart by school, that TOSGRIF chart by school, you can see some kind of bright spots in the district, and those are schools that have been focusing on this for a while.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you highlighting that this is a new department. So teaching and learning, we have not had this department in the past. So adding that in, and you could see the work that Jeff has done with all of this data. Like, it's phenomenal what he's been able to create. In the past, as schools have created our 90-day plans, they're going to every single data source and looking at it individually and trying to sort the data. And it's just very, very cumbersome for our school teams to be able to do that, to have accurate data. So, I mean, 3 years of working on this, and we have what he has created for us has been just phenomenal. So I can't stress enough how much easier that makes it on, our schools to be able to look at the data just by a click of the button versus digging into all these different platforms and trying to download the data into an Excel spreadsheet and sort it. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Kind of on that note, we have districts now reaching out to us for help on setting up their data systems. So in fact, I just met with Grand's assessment director yesterday to have some of those conversations about what it is that we're doing and how they can set those up. So I think we're ahead of the curve.
That's exciting. And all of what you have said has been exciting because we are trying to get, like you said, ahead of the curve. I appreciate that there's a very strong theme of support in here. We're wanting to be successful, and the more information we can give, data that we can give to our teachers that's meaningful, that they can work with, just empowers everyone and ultimately our students to succeed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We can move on to school update.
All right, so Blanding Elementary School. We'll just go ahead to that PowerPoint. If you wouldn't just mind skipping ahead to the video on slide 4. We'll go ahead and watch this real quick. All right, so as you can see, there's a little bit of asphalt going in. I believe that's all been completed in the back there, with some exceptions. There's still some of the side asphalt that needs to come in. It isn't shown there, but all the asphalt in the front at that roundabout has been poured. The parking lot at the south end is also completed with asphalts. Concrete aprons have all been poured at this point. As you can see, the building is, at this point, completely closed in. The doors won't come in until later because they don't want to ding those up in the process of all the other stuff that's going on. You can't see it in the video as well, but the gym is painted at this point. All of the tectum has been painted, as well as the ceiling. They've gotten some of the equipment for the hoops that have come in, and I believe that those are going to be set up sometime either this week or next. And the work, interior finishes are being installed at this point. Pillars in the main entryway are in. The walls have been painted in that main area as well. And progress is going great over at Blanding Elementary School. I don't know, any questions on that? I mean, it's they're still ahead of schedule. They're still doing great work over there. And hopefully the weather will cooperate a little bit. They still got some asphalt to pour, but they can't do that in the rain or in the cold weather. So we're hoping that the asphalt can continue to get poured before the winter sets in. If not, that will be delayed until the spring, but that shouldn't substantially delay the entirety of the completion of the project.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. How has the rain, the recent ongoing rain?
It's definitely impacted it. I mean, even outside of concrete work, there's not a lot of site work that can get done when it's raining. And so we're waiting to see if that clears up. Obviously, the rain is a great thing, and we shouldn't be hoping that it goes away for other reasons, but it does. There are some delays that obviously happen within construction, but you know, we're still doing pretty well, and they're still able to continue doing the electrical work and all the other work that's going on the interior of the building.
Colleen, did you want to say something?
I just had a question. Were we able to figure out the bacon flooring? That was kind of fun to see, but it'd be interesting.
It will now always be called that.
Yeah, now it's on a public meeting. No, we don't have anything definitive yet, and that was one thing that the superintendent and the manager was also in town today for an unrelated reason, but they did ask about that when we were going to finalize what we wanted for the design plan there. That's something that, you know, myself, superintendent, and Steve Franklin probably just need to sit down and have a conversation about and come to an agreement.
Okay, I didn't want to say it was a bad thing, but it was
No, of
kind of
course.
like use your own imagination to come up with what you think is there.
Sure, and hopefully, you know, I can't imagine that being an hours-long conversation. Hopefully, it's pretty quick, and we can just go ahead and give the stamp of approval on some of those design patterns under the skylights and the corridors. For those that don't know, she's referring to in each of the three main corridors that you'll see there, each of the wings, there's a skylight. And within those skylights, each of the corridors has a different floor design just for under those skylights. It doesn't go throughout the entirety of the building, just under those specific areas.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. All right, and then the next one, just a capital update here. The vestibule projects are still ongoing. We'll just go ahead and look at some of these pictures this time around. If you want to click on MCES. We'll just start at the top. These aren't necessarily in order. They didn't download in order, but that's okay. I can still explain them one by one. So what we're seeing here, this picture and picture number 6, which we can go to later, they're just cutting out the window that'll be in between the administration and the vestibule. So this area will be part of the vestibule, and just behind it will be just like the reception area. Behind that will be an office that will either be the principal's office or another administrator's office there. Going on to the next picture. This is the area where the conference room and another office will be located. Where we're seeing right now will be mostly where the new office is located, kind of in the middle of this area, and then the back is just a hallway that gets back into where the faculty lounge is. And then the third picture, This is near the wall, in the back. There will be an office. Oh, no. This got shifted, actually. I believe that this is just the other side of the first picture. This is where the vestibule is going to be. You'll see the front of the building. This is just going to be all part of the entrance for that secure vestibule. And this is the other side of the, this is, to the left of them is where the secure vestibule is going to be, where they're cutting that out right there. That's going to be a window into the new office, one of the administrator's offices at the front of the building. We're probably going to cut it just a little bit lower so that the person sitting at a desk will be able to see the children walking up to the school every day, and so that's going to look really, really good. This is, again, a picture of where the conference room in the new office is going to be. This is a better look at where the conference room portion is going to be, where it extends out into that extra area right there, all the way to the end of the wall on the left is going to be the conference room. Just another look on the outside there. So where you can see kind of where the conference room is going to end, where you can see that panel right there on the right-hand side, and then just straight back into the wall on the left-hand side. And this is just the entrance into to the conference room, into the new office right there. And I believe that's all of those for these. Then moving on to San Juan High School. A few less pictures here. They're still in the work getting the concrete up. As you can see, the concrete has been poured. They're just doing some work right now to grind that down to make it a little bit more smooth, just to better provide needs for flooring in the future there. And so all the pictures that we're going to see here, if you just scroll here, most of them are going to be of that concrete work there. And so if you see them out front, they'll most likely be grinding for the next little while just to get that smoothed down. And this is just the inside of the building. I believe they've placed some joists. I don't know if it's in this one or the one just on the opposite side of this. I don't have any pictures of that at the moment. But yeah, the progress is ongoing for both of those. We do have, they're in the process of getting me a more definite updated schedule, but we will provide that to the board probably in the next email to the board. Any questions on either of those before I talk about design progress for Monticello High School and ARL? All right, seeing none. There's not any attachment with this, but the design process is ongoing for the vestibule projects at Albert R. Lyman Middle School and Monticello High School. The designs are going well. There's been a couple of additions. We've been in communication with the capital committee about some potential upgrades that we're going to do to Monticello. I won't announce those here. We're just going to continue on to see if that's what we're going to look at. But we're hopefully going to bring back to both the committee and to the board some potential additions to a couple of those design processes. So I believe that's it for these.
Any questions or discussion? All right.
All right, just go on to the next one then here. All right, so I wanted to take this opportunity to look at the general fund, just to see where we're at with that, and to bring some recommendations for the board. And so you'll see on this attachment, I've included, it breaks down a few things as part of the general fund. The first thing here is I wanted to discuss was our current unassigned fund balance for fiscal year 25. You'll see that amount is just a little under 22.5 million. The state has a recommendation for school districts' unassigned balance to equal 25% of the prior fiscal year's expenditure. So you'll also see that number up there. Prior fiscal year's expenditure was 55 million out of the general fund, almost 56 million. Our fiscal year 25, as it stands right now, our unassigned balance is about 40% of fiscal year 25's expenditures. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to bring to the board is discussing what a healthy target is for San Juan School District. Obviously, the state's target is 25%, but there are a couple things to consider with our school district here that are just a little bit unique. The first is impact aid funding. While that's historically been funded, Congress could decide to completely defund that, or more likely just to lower it in future years. That's something that we rely on pretty heavily. We receive between $4 and $6 million every year in impact aid funding. And so that's one of the reasons I think that 25% might not be the best target for us. The other thing is just some of our longstanding goals for San Juan School District. Just looking at some prior board meetings from, we're talking even decades ago that we've established some of our goals. Two of our big goals are, one is to avoid debts. And for a couple reasons. One is because bonding isn't a great option here. There isn't a lot of options for us to even take out bondings to go into debt. And the other is just as a good general practice to avoid debts. And the other the other goal that we've established as a school district is to avoid tax increases. And so in line with those goals, I think that there is some discussion about what a healthy balance could be, but I would probably say between 25 and 35%, and I would even probably move that up to between 30 and 35% in our unassigned fund balance in comparison to our total general fund expenditures from the previous fiscal year. But with this being said, I think that we still have some room for paying that down in the immediate, with some immediacy. And so we do have a couple of recommendations here, and you'll see that on here as well. One of our recommendations is a one-time payout to classified and clear classified employees that are not part of the ESPS grant. And just some background on that, the ESPS grant, which stands for Education Support Professional Stipend, pays up to $1,000 plus benefits to educational support professionals, such as classified and clear classified employees. However, the stipend excludes employees that are at the district level. And so we're proposing a one-time payout to those employees that would otherwise qualify if they weren't district level employees. Laura Palmer, our HR director, ran the numbers on that, and the payout would be just shy of $38,000 to pay off the $1,000 bonus plus benefits for those people that did not qualify for the ESPS grant that otherwise would have. And so that's our first recommendation that you'll see in the recommendations for action later on in the agenda. And then we're also proposing a one-time payout to all employees of the greater of 2.5% or $750. I had a conversation with our HR director and with the superintendent about also recommending this payout have a cap. We want to promote longevity with our employees, especially with our principals. We don't want to promote turnover. Our principals are very important to us, but we also don't want payouts to unnecessarily benefit some of the higher salaried individuals at the district level. So with some discussion, we decided to cap the one-time payment recommendation to not exceed the highest principal in the school district. And so you'll see on this document here that this payment would be approximately $1.1 million. And it's recommended that this payout be at the November salary, or just a regular November payment for salaries and other wages. And so just looking at this a little bit more, if the board approves these one-time payments today, our unassigned fund balance would be about 38% of fiscal year 25's total general fund expenditure. But this does have a couple of caveats. The first big caveat to look at is our PTIF accounts. They continue to accrue interest. I know talking with Tyrell, since he's been here, the interest rates have been fairly high, whereas in the past they were a little bit lower. And so the last few years we have received a lot more interest in those accounts than we did 5 or so years ago. You can see that so far this fiscal year, we have received over $400,000 in interest, with an average of just under $140,000 per month, and this is just looking at our general fund account. And so I've created 3 different scenarios, 3 different estimates for interest accrual for the remainder of fiscal year 26. The first estimate is more of a conservative estimate of about $80,000 per month. You'll see that between September and August, that interest rates did drop, and so that's why we're seeing a lower return from August to September. And so a conservative estimate that sees the interest rates continue to possibly drop, I decided that $80,000 was probably a conservative estimate. And so this would make us receive a total of $1,139,720.20 in interest for fiscal year 26. And I just wanted to make a side note here that this amount would entirely cover both of the recommended one-time payments. So if that conservative estimate holds true, the interest that we'll receive in the general fund this year will cover both of the one-time payments that we're recommending. Another estimate here is a more moderate estimate that sees us receiving an average of $100,000 for the rest of the 9 months in interest per month, which would make our total interest earned in those PTIF accounts for fiscal year '26 just over $1.3 million. And then a high estimate, which is just the average of the last 3 months, would see our total interest earned in fiscal year '26 being nearly $1.7 million. So I just wanted to show you the interest revenue here to have a little context with our recommended one-time payments, and to just kind of have a better understanding of what it would take for us to reach the 25% target in our unassigned fund balance. So there's a good likelihood that our interest earned in fiscal year '26 will either equal or exceed our recommended one-time payments. With that being said, during a later meeting, if the board does recommend to approve these one-time payments, it would be probably wise to look at our unassigned fund balance at that point to see what our percentage is, even given the interest payments that or the interest revenue that we've received for the year, to see where we have some room to kind of spend down the general fund balance. I know the state recommends that we don't hold on to money unnecessarily, and so there might be some room for whether that goes to the capital fund or to certain projects, whatever else it may be. I know I spoke a lot there, so I'm open for any questions that we might receive.
So I'd like to just add a little bit of the historical context, and you did a great job making this very consumable and understandable, because there's a lot here. I think the challenge, I think if we go back historically, when we received the ESSER funds, so the COVID relief funds, we were able to give our employees who were dealing with very difficult situations and lots of extra effort that additional stipend amount in December. So it was looking at that and what did that look like, and the board approved that for a couple of years for us. Last year was the first year that ESSER money, it didn't come from ESSER money, that the board was able to still give additional funding. I think the challenge with this always is that this is a one-year funding, so it can't really go into the salary table to give our employees additional increases, and we appreciate all the effort that the board has taken in supporting our recommendations each year as we increase our salary table based upon cost of living. But unfortunately, this money isn't guaranteed to be there year after year. So this is an opportunity for the board, just like Lucille mentioned earlier, how amazing our teachers are and the efforts that they do, and all of our employees, to be able to say, because this money is here one time, we can pay it out. So it's not ever a guarantee for our employees that they'll get this again next year, but because of where we are, based upon these numbers, we could make this happen this time. And I just want to reiterate as well what Jacob said about the cap. I think it's really important that we're honoring the work that is happening at the school level site and capping it out at our highest paid administrator. While that does impact, some of our higher paid, like me and the business administrator, we feel very strongly that we're the one advocating for this. We're going to get some payout from this as well, being administrators, but we really feel like that emphasis should be back on the school level and the efforts and work that they're doing. So I just kind of wanted to give that historical perspective where we've been for the past number of years, and this may not be able to happen again next year, depending on interest rates and what happens with our funding. But I really appreciate your efforts in explaining this, and appreciate the board and taking this under consideration and I think it's good timing. We like to be able to pay it out in December.
Of course, yeah. And we can't stress that enough too, and that's, we don't like to use the word bonus here, because this isn't a bonus. It's just a one-time stipend for all the work that they are doing, but it is not guaranteed year to year. And that's just like Superintendent said, and just like I mentioned earlier, things like interest, those aren't guaranteed. Other sources of funding aren't guaranteed. And so, the goal is that we get to our target unassigned fund balance, and we try to maintain that the best that we can, and that doesn't always align with giving out this one-time payment. But just depending on circumstances year to year, it's something that we look at, and if it makes sense in a given year, then we recommend it. If it doesn't, then we won't recommend that in the future.
Any questions or comments?
And our staff do a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of donating their time. We don't see that because we're not there, but they are there, and I appreciate the one-time payment for them, because they do deserve it.
I agree with what Lucille said. It's, my parents are educators, and they struggled, and it's a very hard but very valuable work, especially in our part of the country.
For sure.
Thank you. Colleen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I did. I agree with both my colleagues, Lucille and Don, on that retrospect, but I'm a little more conservative in the sense of, I know you said 25% of the 25 expenditures. I'm wondering how much it will change if we were to go possibly to 30 or 35. I mean, as much as I would love to give out money, I also want to be able to keep some money as well, just because we don't know, like you said, we don't know what's to come for the following year or anything like that.
Absolutely.
How
Yeah.
much of a change would that make if we didn't go 35, but if we went to 30% instead of the 20?
And I would actually recommend that, Colleen, is going a little bit higher than the 25%. 25% is just the state recommendation. After these one-time payments, we will still have 38% in that unassigned balance, and that's not even considering the interest revenue that we'll receive for the rest of the year.
Right, and I have to agree with that, because even though we still have to be careful in that sense as well. I mean, as much as I would love to go for the full 25%, I just think staying within the 30 or 35 or even the 38, I mean, I would feel better and sleep better at night, I guess.
Sure, yeah. We would have to spend down, to reach the 25% target, we would have to spend down, in addition to this one-time payment, we'd have to spend down 7.3 million approximately, and that would get us at 25%. To get down to 35%, I could run the numbers, it wouldn't take too long, but it'd probably be just a couple extra, maybe not even an extra $1 million in addition to what we're spending right now. Of course, that's, again, not taking into consideration interest. And so this one-time payment, it still keeps us conservative for sure. We're even above the 35% target after this one-time payment. We'll be at about 38% in that fund balance. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely up for discussion with the school board, what percent that we should be, whether that's closer to 35% or closer to 30%. But as it stands right now, even with the one-time payments, we'll still be well above that 35% target.
And that would be my next question. Would that change the amount for the one-time payouts as well? I mean, I assume it would if we went with the 35 or the 30%.
Well, I haven't ran the numbers about how much we'd have to spend down to get to 35%. And that's certainly something I can do if we wanted to look at another one-time payment. It would just be whatever 35% of 22.4 million is, and then just add the difference into the one-time payment.
And Colleen, to add to that, we are looking at recommendations from our district safety committee for any additional projects that need to be completed to be, to have better safety protocols, or any of the things that we are being mandated to put in place as well. So it's very likely that we'll come back to the board with some recommendations,
Right.
whether it gets to 35% or whatever. We know that there's probably a little bit more money that needs to be, that could be one-time funding, and safety is definitely high on that priority list as we look at our schools. So it's likely we'll come back to the board with some recommendations of how to spend some of that.
For sure, yeah. We have no shortage of things that we could be doing with that money too, so.
Right, and that was going to lead me into my next question, is if we had any other capital projects we could work on. I know, again, with safety and security, key entrances or keyless entrances or something like that with a door, that was one of the possibilities, and any other thing that we could be missing out on, and just making sure that we're covering kind of everything from one-time payouts all the way to capital projects that could be,
For sure.
whether some money could be spent.
And one thing to note too is that with this particular meeting, I only showed the review for the general fund, not the capital fund, in future board meetings too, especially if one of our one-time payments from the general fund is to put money into our capital fund or capital project fund. Just looking at the fund balances there, I did have our accountant kind of run those numbers a little bit to see what it would be approximately. There's always room for revenue and some unexpected expenditures in that. But after all of our planned projects so far, including the vestibule projects, Blanding Elementary School, and we even have some set aside from, I think it was several years ago, but the board did approve some funding for another potential project in there. But with all that, we worked out we would still have a decent amount in there. I don't want to say it in a public meeting exactly what that would be without having the numbers in front of me, but, we have no shortages of capital projects that we could and should be doing as well. And so, one of the possible recommendations to get us to the 35% or 30% could be to move some of the money from the general fund into the capital project funds.
Okay, and then also on the U2 interest estimates, what would be your recommendation to either stay conservative, medium? I mean, I heard what you had to say, but I mean,
Sure.
of course, I'm always going to go off the recommendation or you being our business manager
Sure.
and helping us in that aspect. So
I think
if you
it's-
could just give me some insight on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably wise to look at just the conservative too, because, there's so many variables that we just don't know, right? Like, the interest rates could go down drastically, and it could even get lower than the $80,000, or they could go up again, and we'd be receiving more than $80,000 a month. So I think it's probably wise to stay on the safe side and just look at the conservative estimate for how much we're going to be receiving in interest this year. And that $80,000 is already significantly lower than our average that we've received in the last 3 months, but we have seen the interest rates fall about a percentage from July 1st to now. And so it's very possible that they could continue to drop, and so we won't see as much interest revenue in the upcoming months. And so I think it's probably wise to look at the conservative estimate and not expect any more than that, and potentially, depending on how the federal rates go, it's one of those things that's not always easy to predict. But I would think that's probably a safe estimate for our interest revenue for the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you for answering that. I mean, and from previous boards, it definitely helped when you had Steve sitting right there and he'd be like, oh yeah, this is what we should do. I mean, that definitely made it easier to not have to worry your question about this, but thank you for answering all my questions.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah, and if at any time any of the board has any other questions about any of the fund balances, you can always feel free to reach out to me, especially since, this was just a look at the general fund. We obviously still have our capital funds that could have a million questions too about those, and so yeah, I'm open anytime if you want to reach out.
Great, thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is back to me. Just wanted to talk about the opportunity that Lucille and Colleen and I took to attend the USBA Leadership Academy at Ruby's Inn near Bryce Canyon, and I'm just really glad that we were all able to be there. It was very informative and gave us some good ideas of things to do as a board to improve, and also some ways that we're already doing things right. So it's always nice to find out that you're actually on the right track. So I was trying to find my notes and I seem to have misplaced them, but Lucille's looking through her notebook now, and just thought I'd give you an opportunity, or Colleen, to share anything you wanted to from that experience as well.
I never knew about AI.
The AI information that we had, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Nan, one of the biggest things that stood out to me was our first meeting with just the leadership of the board president and the vice president, was that we are doing a lot of really good things already, whereas bigger districts were like, oh, well, how do you navigate through this, and this, and we're like, well, this is what we're doing as a small rural district. I mean, that was really nice to hear, and to hear that we were like, how do I say, above the curve about it. So, I mean, we're doing really good things within our district. It just reiterated to us what we needed to do and continue to do. Like Lucille said, AI was a huge learning lesson for me. I mean, I know a lot of our community is scared or fearful of what AI could bring, but there's a lot of benefits to it too. And it was definitely something that me, as a conservative on that part, especially sharing our language and sharing our culture with that was something that opened my eye, and I was like, maybe AI could actually be used in a more productive and helpful use to our students, because a lot of our students are more tech savvy, and I mean, they could probably do a lot more with computers than I could ever at this point. And so that was something I definitely wanted to explore more, and opened up my eyes to a lot of things. So I really enjoyed myself, and I was grateful to go, and just learning so much more with truth and taxation. And goodness, guys, I think I'm still trying to recover from the USBA leadership conference, because my mind was just blown on a lot of things that, I mean, there's even more that we could share. And I think I used my notebook. It's half used with how much notes I took. So it was an overall great experience.
Yeah, and I would also like to share that we were able to network quite a bit with several different people, but especially with some members of the Canyons School District School Board, and just really exciting to see that we have some of the same concerns and challenges, but also the same goals. Basically, we want our students to succeed, and we're going to network again with them, meet when we go to the meetings in January, and it's just nice to have support all around the state. So, and I would also at this point plug to all of you board members to let's get on the USBA website and do the training. Yeah. It went from my mind. What is it called? Master Board Certification. Yes. And you don't have to do all of it at once. Just do a module, and if we can each one of us do something, then we will be recognized for that in January. So, and I know that we can. It's always good to learn how to do your job a little better.
And it really went really smooth. So it's not hard. It's just time consuming.
Yeah. Thank you, Don. Any other? I think we're almost to the point of taking a break. I don't know if we had anything for closed. So we at this time will break for a dinner break, and we will be back at 6 o'clock. Thank you. I think he said she was there. So I'm just, yeah. Just let us know when you're ready.
That baby letting you sleep at night yet?
What's that?
Is that baby letting you sleep at night?
Not
yet?
at all.
Not
but,
at
you
all?
know, we're dealing with it.
You know, I don't have a grandkid yet, you know. I'm patiently awaiting.
Sure, sure.
I tell you, every time I see a baby, though, I'm like, oh, man, I want a
You
big
just want a
grandbaby.
grandbaby?
Yeah, dude.
That's funny.
But we'll just settle for Jane for now.
We'll never get to watch Jane.
Yeah. You seen a picture of her?
Okay, welcome back to our San Juan School District Board of Education meeting. Welcome to all of our guests and district employees. At this time, we would like to have special recognition of some San Juan Sweet Job Awards to some individuals. I'll go ahead and let Lucille do yours, and then I'll do the next one.
Okay. Come on up, Shia, Brenda. Last week, Jonah, to the following individual awarded to Valina Cody, Heritage Language Teacher. Valina always goes out of her way to create interest and excitement for culturally relevant events at her school. There were many students smiling and enjoying Malibu traditional food, all due to Valina's mentoring and support of affirmation in which the Unity Club. Heritage language students and youth council students all participated. Keep up the good work, Mrs. Cody, nominated by Brenda Whitehorse. Valina is a tremendous asset to our school. She works hard to find ways to help students and parents and to connect with all of them on a personal level. She has great insights and has helped us navigate through some sensitive situations. We are lucky to have her nominated by Stephanie Turk. Valina demonstrates professional leadership in so many ways. Valina quickly learned her new position and continues to produce positivity. Valina is trusted and determined. Valina continues to produce a strong program and a strong team. Valina thinks ahead, plans accordingly, and does her best to accomplish everything set before her. Valina brings so much to the team and should be recognized for all her contributions. Nominated by Melissa. Yeah, my son said to me just other day that your class was actually tough, but that he enjoyed it just a little bit. Those are the two things all teachers should strive for. Nominated by Karen.
Do we want everybody? So I'm gonna move that way if you don't mind. Is that where? Yeah,
however you want.
Yeah, this way.
Is that better?
Yeah, now I know. If I need you to.
So I can be on the
Go
other side.
go that side. There we go. Hey, I'm not a photographer, I'm just a principal. She, well deserved.
Yes. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you again. I just noticed they had some flowers, some dough.
Oh, yes, I did. That's the evidence right there. Nikki, no, put the Thank you. Congratulations. All right, can I have Wanda catch him come up now?
Thank you, Wanda. Bluff Elementary Pre-K. Wanda works great with preschool students. She takes the time to listen and be patient with the little students. She is gentle, kind, and takes care of student needs. As Wanda works with her students, she uses her creativity and energy to bring out the excitement of learning for them. Wanda is a big part of the Bluff School community. She is also part of the social committee who does a wonderful job of getting staff members together to socialize and enjoy spending time with one another. Wanda is awesome, and that was nominated by Barbara Silversmith. And then Wanda delivers steady guidance and unconditional compassion to all students. She quietly leads by example. Wanda students are always joyful, learning, engaged, and willing to try. Wanda is a superheroine with the wisdom of the ancestors, jokes of a sister, and perceptions of a twin. Thanks for being our colleague, Wanda, and nominated by Melissa. And I would just like to second, because I know that you work with my sister now. My sister is Katie Perkins, and you have done a great job of welcoming her into the school. Yeah, she loves you too, so thank you. Yes. You're the
Thank
best.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Yeah,
I'll send it to you.
Great. Since you already sent this one already.
That's right, there.
Congratulations. You always do wonderful. Very well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you. High school, or was it?
High school.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you, and you're welcome to stay or you're welcome to go. Whatever you want to do is fine. Thank you for coming. We don't have Eva here, but does anybody know if there are any public comments
There weren't any
at this
at the time
point?
that she left.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have access to the public comment.
I don't think I do, yeah.
She would have texted us. to get
She
us
would have
there.
texted us, yeah. She didn't put you in charge, Dina? All right, well, we get to move on to the next part of our agenda then. So at this point, we're on the consent agenda. So I'm just wondering if there's any comments or questions related to that before we move on. Colleen, are you with us?
I don't have any comments or questions. Thank you.
Okay. So the next part would be a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
I'll second.
Yeah, Lucille seconded it, but thank you, Colleen.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll move on to the action items. So, any of these can be tabled or they can be approved today. So, or they can be not approved today. So I'm open to motions on the San Juan School District Policy 1115 Board of Education Hotline. Remembering that we were advised that it would be good to move this along today.
Okay. I motion to approve the San Juan School District Policy 1115 Board of Education Hotline.
I'll second.
Okay, Lucille made the motion and Colleen seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Okay, the next item is San Juan School District Policy 6621, curricular and non-curricular student groups.
I'll make, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
She said go ahead.
Okay. I move to approve San Juan School District Policy 6621, curricular and non-curricular student groups.
I'll second that.
Okay, Lucille made the motion and Dawn seconded it. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. The next item is the medical anatomy and EMT spend plan revisions for Whitehorse High School, San Juan High School, Monument Valley High School, Monticello High School, and Navajo Mountain High School.
I'll make a motion to approve the Whitehorse High School, San Juan High School, Monument Valley High School, Monticello High School, Navajo Mountain High School medical anatomy and EMT spend plans for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
Okay, Colleen made the motion and Lucille seconded it. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Okay, on the school land trust due dates, we need to make an emotion, or we could make a motion regarding that, and it's,
I motion to approve the school land trust final report due on February 2nd, 2025 and 26.
I apologize, that actually should be 2026.
Yeah, okay, yeah. February 2026 and the 2026-2027 school land trust plans and signature form, which is due March 16th, 2026.
Second.
I'll second.
okay. So Dawn made the motion to approve the school land trust final report due date of February 2nd, 2026, and the 2026-2027 School Land Trust Plans and Signature Form due date of March 16th, 2026. And Lucille seconded it. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I know I could say any opposed, but we all just spoke, so. So that passes as well. So the next item is the San Juan School District Policy 3100.
I'll make a motion to adopt policy 3100, financial administrative procedures.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Colleen made the motion to adopt policy 3100, and Dawn seconded it. Any discussion related to that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes as well. The next item is the one-time payout that was discussed by Jacob and Dr. Fitzgerald.
This one's for the non-ESPS, so the $38,000 one.
So this particular one is for the non-ESPS, the $38,000, which was the ESPS covers some of it, but this will make up the difference.
Will this need to be passed first before we get the new percentages, or will the payouts still be the same?
So we'll wait till we receive the grant to actually do the payouts. But with board approval, we'll just be able to pay that out as soon as we get the grant information. The grant's already been approved. It was a statewide grant. We're just waiting for them to distribute the funds.
And there are
Okay.
certain things that grant didn't cover.
Correct. Mm.
I motion to approve the non-ESPS grant one-time payout.
Does that sound?
Yep.
Okay. And anyone can second that.
I will second.
Okay. Any discussion related to that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes. And then the next one is the one-time payout for all employees, including a recommended cap for the highest.
I motion to approve the one-time payout for all employees.
And
I think we probably want to.
2 point,
To say the full percentage that's on.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, I should have also included the greater of 2.5% or $750.
Okay.
To the greater of.
Yes, the greater of either 2.5% or $750.
With the recommended cap.
2.5%
Yes,
or
Or-
$750
yes.
With the recommended cap.
with the recommended
Cap.
cap.
Yeah. Sorry, that one's a little
Okay.
tricky.
Yeah, I should have written that out better on
Okay,
there.
so Lucille's motion is to approve a one-time, whichever is the one-time payment, whichever is greater, 2.5% or $750 to all employees with the recommended cap. So I just need a second.
I will second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, that passes. We are now on to the information item, so I'll turn the time over to you. And I did notice there's another typo here,
Yeah.
because our next board meeting is not today.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many times you go through this. there's
I
always
know, I'm
something.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you for pointing that out. Our actual next board meeting, let me just so I can make sure I tell you the right date for November.
11th.
Will be
The 12th.
The 12th, so November 12th will be the next board meeting. Remember, we do have Veterans Day on the 11th, so that's why board meeting will be on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Our Native Youth Leadership Conference will be held October 23rd, and then our Heritage Language Conference is October 24th, which of course the board is always invited to as well. There is a registration form on our district website. The National Johnson O'Malley Conference is November 8th through 10th, and then our Veterans Day, again, I mentioned that, but it's November 11th, the day before board meeting, and there is no school on that day.
Okay. All right, at this time, with nothing else to discuss, we are adjourned. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We made it.
Well, these are getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah, Colleen and I are going to start awarding gold stars for every time you guys make a comment. We're trying to get you to talk
Oh my
more.
gosh, we're gonna be here all night.
You're gonna get us